Hello everyone and welcome to my 100 sub special. I just want to give a big thank you for helping me reach 100 subs to the new subscriber. I didn't mean to do that. It's just a yellow outline I've never used. It's been literally years since I've ever done anything PowerPoint related. But yeah, anyways, thank you for everyone who subbed, both new and old. I appreciate all of you. And it does feel like extra good finally hitting the 3 digits. And in before, we're not 3 digits when this releases, you know, haha. But we've hit it, and that's the most important part, you know. I was very excited, like, you know, YouTube notification was like, oh, who commented? You've hit 100 subs, and now we didn't hit it by New Year, but we've hit it within the first month, so that's pretty good. I'll call that a success. It's been a pretty steady climb from like 50 to 100. It's pretty much the same rate, but yeah, it's a big deal, so I did want to do something special for it. So if you haven't watched my update video for 2021, I did say for 100 subs I will be ranking every visual novel I've read. Now the problem is I don't really have a list, and some of them were like, there's like some big gaps between them, so a lot of this is just from memory. But yeah, it'll be a fun time. It might be a bit long. What I've learned is I've read like a decent chunk, but I did not finish a lot of them. I either dropped them or I only like read one route or two. Back then, a lot of it is from a long time ago, back when I didn't feel the need to complete stuff. But now that I am recording them for YouTube, I am, you know, oops, huh? Is this black? Yikes. Is it still black? Why is it black, dude? I don't know how to do stuff. Hold on. Technical difficulties? You know, what's Aiden video if I messing up technically? But BRB. We did? I think we did. Sorry about that. As per usual, I don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, yeah, we're gonna be doing... I've never really finished a lot of visual novels, just because, you know, back when I was younger, I was like, yeah, you know, I've read it once, so you tell me I need to reread it like 3 to 4 more times. And it was kind of a turn off, but obviously now I have a different mindset, and I do like completing them. So yeah, we're gonna go over some details, but thank you for the 100 subs. I really do, I do appreciate it a lot. It means a lot to me. It's probably as big as I expect to get. I don't think we'll be adding another 0 for either a long time or for the rest of this channel's existence, but it's a badge of honor, you know, not to brag, but I've been around YouTube. I've seen people with like in the thousands or in like the high hundreds that have like the same views as mine. So I'm pretty happy that we're just getting what we can. But yeah, let's start this presentation. Well, I am using Google Slides, not PowerPoint. Mainly because I do not have Microsoft Office on this. I mainly just did all my work on Google Docs and then converted it into a Word document because I didn't want to buy Microsoft. It's just as good, but I am rusty. And I didn't really put much work into the PowerPoint. It's more of it's just like an easy basis, and I'll explain each visual novel, or at least my opinions on it. How do I move? Alright, here we go. Details. I'm just checking so it doesn't go black. I didn't list the visual novels I read, so this is just going to be my memory. I'll be doing every single one I remember, whether I finish it or not, and rate them from my scale. So I made a scale, triple question mark to S. Triple question mark means I don't remember it or I didn't read enough of it. So this is basically me not really wanting to give a rating because I either just don't remember reading it because I didn't read it enough, or I just read one route of it, so it's kind of weird to give like my whole opinion just on some routes. You'll see a couple of these ratings, but I do like bracket what I've read from it and how I would rate it from what I've read. But I just don't really feel like it's fair to like rate one game for doing one route when there's like 8 more routes that could change my opinion, you know? But then it's pretty standard. D is bad, C is okay, B is good, A is great, S is favorites. Basically, if you're like interested in any of them, I would probably try to go for the ones rated B and up. Those are probably the safer bets. C's might be fine, but D's are just objectively bad. So don't read any D's. But yeah, let's finally just get into this, okay? One final check that it is all good. Alright, let's go! Alright, so Kuata Shoujo. You might have heard of this. This was very popular. In my Doki Doki playthrough, I did talk about this a little bit because, you know, how big of a boom Doki Doki was. I thought like Kuata Shoujo was kind of similar, where it did have a pretty big boom. Obviously not Doki Doki level, but it was like pretty huge. And this was the very first visual novel I've ever read. I've only did one route, Emmy's route, which I believe is this girl. I'm not gonna lie, I remember her, I remember these two. I do not remember these two at all. These two are like the main characters of the route, so we didn't see these people as much, but I literally just have no memories of either of these two, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so rank, I put question marks, but from the one route I played with Emmy, and I did get the true ending, I gave it a B. It had very good character development. I really enjoyed learning about each of these girls. Basically, if you don't know the game, it's basically, I forget all the details because this is so long ago, but the gist of it is you are a male student and you move to a school, a private school for the disabled. And then it's sort of like a romance game where you choose a girl, and each of these girls are like roommates, so you learn about the other one too, but you focus on one girl, and I guess you fall in love. From what I remember. I said good. So from what I remember, she has like no legs, she has no arms, but she's an artist. She has no legs, but she's a runner. Half burnt, blind, no idea about those two. But good emotional direction. That means like, it's kind of what I would describe like Hidrashi and stuff, where it knows how to manipulate your feelings in a good way that feels good. So like, I remember, so there's some very sad and dark things, as it is a very popular emotion to go through. There's some lovey-dovey stuff. There's some really good comedy. I think probably the moment I remember the most from this was during a sexual scene with Emmy, our heroine in the route, and I don't remember the exact details, but I just remember you're like doing it, and then I believe her name is Rin, but I'm not sure, just barges in, and it's just like the funniest thing. I remember I actually had to take a break because I was just laughing so hard my chest hurt. So it's a good sign. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's fun, and I would definitely recommend it. It is still a very popular series, and I think it inspired a lot of, especially English stuff. Like I think I've read somewhere that Doki Doki was inspired a bit by this. It's good stuff if you like romance or just slice of life stuff in general. It can get deep, it can be funny, a little bit of spice. But yeah, unknown, but I'd give it a B from my experience. Next. Yandere. I love you so, I want to kill you. But the kill is censored. So this is the second visual novel I've ever played. And it was such a big whiplash because I really enjoyed Kuata Shoujo. And then I dove to this and I absolutely hated this. I don't know how I picked this. I just randomly picked it. I knew what Yandere was, kind of, because I was into like anime. I believe this was like high school stuff, so like this is at least, or possibly like 8 or 9 years ago, but it was so bad. Okay, I only did one route, or at least got one ending. Why is this bad? Well, it was a lot more smutty than I thought. Like, you know, you got your like 2 spice scenes in Kuata Shoujo, and it's kind of the standard, like how I like to, and by spice I mean like hentai sex scenes. How I like to categorize visual novels: you have stuff without it, then you have stuff with it, but it's not the focus, like Fate Stay Night or Kuata Shoujo, where there's probably like 1 to 3 per route. Then you have just smut. It's more about it. This was definitely like leaning towards the smut side. I guess it's not technically all about it since it's also kind of a horror game. And you know, I might be putting some disrespect because I did like briefly like look into these games as I was making the PowerPoint, and it is a decently popular game. But it was just like not enjoyable. Like, I remember the protagonist stuff. I remember was like, okay, that's kind of mean, but the protagonist was so bad. Like, I absolutely hated his guts, and I was happy to see him suffer. He's just a horrible person. I remember the ending I got. Some girl broke into our room and like chainsawed us and then slept in our guts. That was, I mean, it's twisted, which is good, but I mean, it kind of felt good because I hated the protagonist. What other key moments? There's one scary scene that I thought was pretty scary where basically I believe there's 3. Oh man, my memory is in overdrive, dude. There's 3 heroines. There's your childhood friend who you act like an asshole to, some shy girl, and the teacher. And I believe it was the teacher like knocking at your door at night, and she just like it had a pretty spooky CG. She just kept knocking, and like the next, and it was kind of scary. And the next day you like open the door and there's like blood handprints on your door because she was knocking so hard continuously. So I thought that was kind of cool, but that's about it. I also remember the shy girl pees in your lunch, or pees. She gives you lunch, but it turns out she peed in it. That's all I remember. I don't recommend it. I think it's bad, but I'm giving it that just because, again, it is fairly popular. Not now, but it was popular, and I could be giving it a bad rep. Who knows? That was the young, innocent Aiden. Maybe I wouldn't be so harsh on it nowadays, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, but who knows? If you're into Yandere smut stuff, you might like it. Moving on. Clanad! Everyone knows Clanad. Very popular. I did one route. I'm giving it an 8-ish. I don't know what that means, but it was extremely fun the one route I did. I do not know names, and I didn't really search up names. It's the Uju girl, you know, with the party hat on, the memes, with the starfish. I pretty much just played it just to do her route, which I got the normal, not the true ending. Because back in the day, I didn't check for routes. I didn't really understand them too much. I was just freeballing it, and I just knew I wanted to go the meme girls route because I thought she was funny. I like the Ujus, okay? But yeah, it was just a really good experience. I might be overrating it a bit, maybe I'm subconsciously overrating it a bit just because it's Clanad, supposedly a masterpiece. But I remember it hit you in the feels. The music was really good. I did like this girl too, and I liked, like, for the music, especially the white-haired girl, that was kind of like the tough girl. Her theme song was really catchy. Obviously, I feel like, while I said good character development, it could. There's like, I believe there's like 12 routes in canon or something, or Clanad. So like, there's probably a lot more character development, and it could probably be a really fun series. But I only read one route, so I don't have too much to say about it. But I did enjoy the Ugu route, and I enjoyed her and the white-haired girl. Don't really remember any other character beside your male friend, who was also fun to be around. But that's about it. Okay, next. Tokyo Babble. The story of a young man who once led the world to ruination, yet now embarks upon a journey to save it. I really have no idea about this series. I played an hour of it. I remember it being kind of scary, like you're in a stall, there's some monster, and then some girl chases to kill you. I remember the production quality being kind of high for the hour I played it, but I literally just don't have enough to make an opinion at all. Why didn't I continue playing it? I have no idea. It was so long ago, but I played a bit about it. Might as well put it up there. I don't know if there's any Tokyo Babble fans, but yeah, there you go. Just wanted to put it. Analog a Hate Story. This one is good. This is actually a Korean game, South Korean, obviously. My only Korean game, and I thought it was pretty good on Steam. I gave it a B for good. There are 3 endings, if I remember, and I got the ending with this girl. There's 2 protagonists, or 2 heroines. I remember I was trying to get there's a ending where you save her and the other heroine, but I accidentally killed her, because basically this game is sort of a futuristic game where you're talking with AIs, I think. I honestly don't remember the story, except she has a pretty tragic backstory, whatever. But yeah, I remember like the other character, I accidentally like put her somewhere, and I was supposed to like retrieve her, but I didn't, so she just died. And I was so cheesed that I didn't even play the sequel. I think there are puzzles, but I don't remember the puzzles. But I do like puzzles, but I do like puzzles now, but I didn't really like them back then, so I don't know. I remember it's basically a dialogue game. Like, there's story, and uncovering this girl's story was also probably a big part of it, but it was also, I remember the back and forths being kind of fun. But yeah, decent game. I remember having fun with it. Would recommend. And it's nice to see like games from different countries. I like to see the medium being expanded, so fun stuff. Next. Eden. I know this is a pretty popular game. I don't know how long they played. I feel like they played for a couple hours, but I really don't remember anything about the game. I remember the prologue, like you're like trapped, or you're alone with this girl, and you're like the only person on the world, and you're like just waiting to be saved or starve or something. And then I remember it flashes, or it's a flashback. You're an army man, you're being assigned to something, and then I stopped playing. So I didn't play for a lot. I know it's extremely popular, and then I don't know why I stopped playing it. So yeah, I can't really rank it because I just don't have an opinion on it. But yeah, I'm sure it's good. I know it is a very popular series. Eden, there were only 2 on the planet. So yes, the prologue is only 2 people on the planet, but at the beginning there's like more people because you were in the army. I remember it. It's weird how I can remember. I surprisingly remember like some of these visual novels that I only played for like an hour, like literally 5+ years ago, so kind of crazy. Sakura Spirit. Alright, you're like Aiden. Why are you playing Sakura Spirit? It's an interesting question, and I'll warn you. Like I said, I listed everything that I could remember, so there are some spiced up games. I'll be honest with Sakura Spirit. This was me still being new to the visual novels, and I know Sakura games. If you don't know, the Sakura franchises was pretty big. I don't know if they still make games, but there's like 10 different games. They're basically like very short eroges, which is basically like there's a story, but it is kind of just about sex. But it's not smutty. It's not as bad as Yandere. But the reason why I'm giving it a D, and I say possible C, is this is back on Steam where they removed, or you'd have to remove the H scenes from games. So for it to be sold on Steam nowadays, you can actually not do that, but you just have to like activate a setting where it allows you to see adult games. So I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know about the Sakura stuff because this is the very first game that came out. So I swear to you, I don't know, maybe I was a little horny. I honestly don't remember, but I didn't really like know about this game because this was the first that came out. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. It's popping off on Steam, visual novel page. People are buying it. Let's try it out. I do a route. It teases you a lot. It's like, oh, look at this. I remember seeing like this. One of these girls gets ice cream all over on her, and it looks like something else. And then the game just like ends. It's like you play like an hour or 2 hours of the game. The game ends, no reward. It's just like the most unfulfilling, and it feels like almost pointless, right? Like if you're playing a spice game, you want some spice, right? You're just getting. It's like you're just smelling the whole time. You don't get any reward. So yeah, it could be a C. I don't know. Maybe the spice scenes make it work fit. For routes, I think there's 2 routes, and you pick like either the humans or the I don't know, these people, animal people. I think I chose the humans. I don't really like animal people. I respect them, but I don't enjoy them. That sounded weird. I mean, I respect people liking them, but I don't really like the aesthetic. It's probably better. But yeah, it wasn't great. But it's, to be honest, it was like a boring experience compared to Yandere, where I was just disliking it the whole time. So I guess this is technically better. Maybe giving this a D plus might be, or D minus. Wait, no, D plus. Plus is better. Because it is. I think it's better than Yandere from my experience, but yeah, who knows? Maybe if it was spiced, I might have given it a C for okay. Anyways, there you go. There's like a couple more spiced ones. So, like I said, lay it on the table. What do you have to fear? We're all friends here, right? Haha. Shendri! I don't know if I'm saying that right. Shendri, this is I really enjoy this one. So this is Chinese, I believe. Again, new country for an expanding medium. I'm pretty sure China's actually like popping off with visual novels. It's just not like as translated as much, but like if you go on Steam, there's a lot of like very cheap ones. Like I remember there's a bundle where it's like 10 for $10 or something crazy like that, and they're like pretty long. But yeah, China's mass producing this, and this was really good. Now I believe that this was only like 45 minutes to an hour, so I can't really like give it higher than a B. It was just good from the content it gave me. But as I said, short but extremely cozy. This was so cozy and just so fun to read, for me anyways. It's basically about a girl. This girl goes on a hike and she meets another girl, and you're just hiking. You're just walking through the mountains. You visit a temple. I believe you like drink some green tea, finish the day, say goodbye, game's over. That's it. It's simple plot. It's not, you get some character development, but it's nothing crazy. It's just so cozy, and I really do recommend this. And I'm pretty sure it's like dirt cheap, so I bought it on sale, so it was even more dirt cheap. But this is good if you're looking for anything. out of the ones I said that I've actually read a bit. Well, Kuata Shoujo is also really good. But if you're looking for something that's not as big of a time investment, then I would recommend this. I like it a lot. Okay, next. Talking about spice stuff. You might have heard of this, Euphoria. This is a spice game, probably comparable to Yandere. How do I go about this? So basically, I picked this up. It's gonna sound funny, but I mainly did it just because I liked her appearance. I liked the fact that she kind of, it's kind of hard to tell, but she kind of has the Beatrice haircut. And a lot of anime characters do not have the Beatrice haircut. Beatrice from Uminato. So I was like, oh, that's a sweet appearance. That's interesting. Let's pick it up. It is extremely spicy to the point where it's kind of fetish stuff. So for the light of heart, I would not attempt playing it. Like even it might be like worse to look at than Euphoria. I mean Yandere, to be honest. Though maybe not. I didn't play enough of Yandere. I mean, for me, I have an extremely high tolerance to like anything like gross or whatever, so I didn't mind it too much. It's kind of like a 50-50 for me on this game, where some was like enjoyable and some was like kind of like whatever. But basically this game, I guess you can compare it to like 999 or like escape games, but I always just call this like sexual Saw. It is like a very Saw-like game where you have a bunch of participants. You're a guy and you have to do like these things, these like not puzzles but like tasks you need to solve to clear some conditions, and they're, instead of being gross and gory, they're sexual and sometimes gross and gory. But yeah, I think I actually first heard of this series because in history class, I think it was grade 10, we had like laptops, so honestly people were just, and our teacher was like really laid back, so most of us was just doing our own thing. I think the whole history class, I literally like watched all of season 1 and 2 of Free, the swimming anime, the comedy / sort of homoerotic one. Good stuff, by the way. And this one guy in class was just watching the Euphoria anime adaptation. So like there's like a couple people there. I just go over and it's just like this, one of the grossest H scenes I've ever seen in my life. I don't even want to describe it, but it involves tubes and people in a circle. But it was like, what the fuck are you watching in history class? But yeah, I did 2 routes. I think there's 5. I don't know about ending. Like, there's different endings, but there's like 5 girls plus you. And I was following a guide to get the full story, so it's kind of funny. I did like my least 2 favorite characters. I didn't even get to. I think her name is Nemu. But yeah, there are some positives though, compared to like Yandere. And obviously, again, spice makes you feel uncomfortable. There's actually a lot of good in this. Like the production value is pretty like high. Like a lot of animated stuff. Like there's a really good scene where it was like in the latter half of the idol route. Actually, I should talk about that. Like the idol character, which is probably my least favorite, she was so annoying. But at the end, her final act was so good. It, like, even though I was hesitant about like, I was like halfway through the route, I was like, okay, I'll finish this up, but I probably won't read the rest of it. the final act actually just made me read another route. It was so good because it just turned into normal Saw. Like, it was insane. Like, I remember like one, it was like you have to like hold this wire to pull this person from choking, and it's like covered in barbed wire or something like that. It was so intense, so fun. And there's just like one where it's like, this girl will die if you don't knock someone unconscious, and then you just like, and if you do the right thing and you knock someone, you just like start beating the shit out of someone, and it's so visceral, and it's like such a well done scene. I was so impressed. I'm like, holy shit, wait, this visual novel is actually like really fucking good. So I did read the teacher out, though I don't think I finished it. I might have finished it or not. I don't really remember it as much as the idol route, but yeah, this is, even though it's extremely spiced and I wouldn't really recommend it if you're not looking for something spicy like this, I do actually think the story itself is interesting. I think it's very well made, and you know, you read it for the spice, but you get some more stuff out of it. But that being said, I would not like be like, oh, this sounds interesting, even though I'm not interested in the spice. I'm interested in the story, so let's try it out. I would not recommend that, because even if that is true, I think the amount of H scenes and stuff probably what's the word for it? Kind of like it's overvalues it. It like overtakes it. So yeah, I wouldn't do that unless you want something like this. But yeah, there's Euphoria. Didn't think I would be talking about that like ever. Ooh, this game's hype as fuck. Okay, so I didn't even remember this. I was like looking through my Steam library for like games or visual novels, and then there's like Forget Me Not Garden, which is like the sim game. It has nothing to do with this. Then I remember like, oh yeah, this game's so sick. So I believe this is English produced, extremely low budget horror game. My memory is like failing me, but I remember really liking it. Like, I only did one ending, but I remember getting so scared I can only do one ending. I'm like, okay, this was fun. I'm never playing this again. Now again, this was when I was super young, for sure. This was definitely on the younger side when I was really new to visual novels, but I was like, this was hype, so hype. And it's like, oh, don't spoil. But yeah, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I remember, despite being so low production, it really impacted me as a kid, and it made me uninstall after I did an ending. But I'm pretty sure for a lot of it I was like covering my eyes reading this like this really like low budget thing. So it's interesting. I might bring this back since it's such a short game, I feel. But yeah, possibly C to B, don't remember, but good stuff. Would check it out if you... I don't know if it's actually scary, since this was scaring younger Aiden, but still wanted to shout it out. Give it what it deserves. Okay, so don't remember. So basically I remembered like playing one and kind of remembering the design of it, but I just don't remember the name, and I looked like 30 minutes but I couldn't find it. It was like you play as a doctor in a sort of like a futuristic but post-apocalyptic world. But I only played it for like an hour because I spilled ginger ale on my laptop and it like broke the keyboard, so I like threw out the laptop and I just never played it again. But yeah, I just wanted to note that. I don't know, if you know that, then you can tell me, but I did try to look for it. So I wouldn't try to look for it since I don't really care, but I just wanted to note it, so just in case you're wondering. Alright, I don't know. I archive it. Put it on the list, even though I don't have the details. Okay. This one is another smut lewd one. Don't Google this one. Yeah. just something like this just really makes me appreciate Euphoria and another spiced up title I have later, just because of how like well produced they are and how good they actually make the story, despite it being like 80% just 70 to 80% just H scenes. But this is actually just trash. I did do 2 routes, or 1 to 2, I don't actually remember. But the interface was so bad. Even though it was like in the 2000s, it felt like a 1990 game. Well, maybe not. But like it felt so dated. It had a set speed you can skip text at. And it was so slow. It basically didn't let you skip text. You'd have to like let the whole text play out, then you click. You couldn't like speed it up. Like in most games, like you have the text scrolling, then you click again, and then it instantly shows all the text that was trying to scroll. No option, dude. It was so slow. The interface was bad. Didn't actually have a story. It was actually just porn. So don't look. Not worth it. Honestly, I'd rather read Yandere than going back to this, to be honest. Yeah. Like I said, we're coming out the good and the bad. Here we go, Tamamin. Okay, this is an interest. So by series, I've read multiple of these. Meaning I've read the first and the second one, and I forgot to include this, but there's like a 1.5 called Chaos Arena. And I played a bit of Murasaki, you know, spiced up cover. I actually just couldn't find a... The other covers were also pretty spiced up, so I just used the last spice one. But this is the Murasaki cover. And then another extremely spicy story like Euphoria. It is smutty. It's a different kind of spice though. I think I like it a little... It's a lot more like fantasy stuff, so... Okay, a lot of like tentacle stuff, and I fucking hate tentacles, dude. Why do people like that? It spooks me out. But yeah, it's insane, because I didn't mention this, high production value. I think the production value is really good. Not as good as Euphoria, I think. But the world setting, world building is actually like really interesting. It's so surprising. You wouldn't really expect it, and I guess that's what makes these series popular, because the Tamamin series has like a lot of, I think in the main timeline there's like 6 or 7 of them, and there's like a bunch of spin-off series, so you know, it just goes to show you, instead of just like really good scenes and stuff, you need if you have a nice story backing it, it helps. I've actually, the reason I got into this, like I got into this when I was younger, and then I read these 2 more recently. Then I stopped reading this just because of COVID, so I used to live in 2 places, then I moved out of one just to like not spread the virus, or potentially spread it, so so I kind of put that on a hiatus. But there's actually like a web game called Battle Arena that I was playing for a bit, and it's pretty fun. I quit because there's like I mainly played it for the story, but there's PvP, and when I played it, there's like around like 3,000 to 5,000 people active on like prime time, and I got like top in the PvP ranks. Like I got like the top rank is like top 20 in game, and I hit that, so I'm like, okay, I basically won the game. But yeah, then I was like, oh, story's kind of unique. Let's check out the source material. Even though the whole Battle Arena, and they have like a new sort of gacha game out there, has its own story that's pretty unique. But this one, like, just from what I remember, some cool setting stuff. So it's a futuristic world. China is taking over most of Asia. I think the United States has taken most of America. I think Canada's been taken over. RIP. And South America, but I'm not sure about South America. And they're going over a power struggle. Like, they have the government, but they have like this organization ruled by a super powerful vampire struggling for power. It's also a game where like there's a demon realm, and like monsters have sort of integrated into society. It's like so freaking unique. It's like such a cool setting to me. I think Russia is also like a big player in it too, taking a lot of Europe over. The powers are cool. Like this girl over here has like shadow powers, where she can like jump into shadows and stuff. And there's this really cool scene where she was fighting this monster with like, I think it was in Murasaki, that had like tentacles, and the tentacles were like trying to grab her out of the shadows, but she put like bombs in them. So like when the tentacles like went into the shadow portals looking for her, like it just simultaneously all blew up. And that was like so badass. Like they have cool powers, a really cool setting. Very interesting to play. Honestly, like there's a time where I was like looking at like a lot of the background information just as the world was so interesting. And it sounds so weird. It's surprising me because, again, I'm fine with giving this a B. I legitimately think this is good for genre, and in terms of creativity for the world and powers and the fight scenes and stuff, it honestly can hold its ground against some of the other series, I think. But again, like Euphoria, I'm hyping this up kind of, futuristic fantasy sort of thing. It is not something I would recommend if you aren't looking for a spiced up series, even though the characters and the story is kind of fun and there are some fight scenes and stuff. It's just 70 to 80% H scenes, so it's not something worth playing if you're not primarily looking for that. But it is a very interesting world, so I gotta show it some love. Who knows, maybe I will read the rest of it one day. I mean, not on the channel. I think rants is enough spice for the channel. But yeah, cool stuff. Oh boy. Fate Stay Night. I've talked about this a bit. Another juggernaut I've read. Probably the only big series that I fully cleared besides Uminato. I'm giving it a B. I think in terms of rereadability, which means rereading it, I'm giving it a D. I think it is extremely hard to reread it. And I think Heaven's Feel, which is one of the 3 routes, is an A because it is amazing. So what do I think about Fate? It's I've had mixed feelings. I was gonna give it a C, but then I realized that's kind of dumb. It's definitely a B. It's just that I went through a phase where like I read Uminato. I'm reading like playthroughs on YouTube just because it's that good. Then I'm like, okay, I'm a little tired. What's another visual novel we read that was kind of good? Fate Stay Night. So I tried to read Fate Stay Night, or watch some read-throughs of Fate Stay Night, and they were just so bad. Anyway, I'm not trying to be mean to any YouTubers, but there were some I mean, for readers, I'm sure everyone has the readers they like, certain traits they like readers to have. And there are some Uminato ones where I don't enjoy it, but I don't think it's bad or anything. It's just a personal taste. But there are a couple that were so annoying in Fate. It was just like so hard to read. And then I just think the problem with Fate is it's such a slow read. It's agonizingly slow. Like it's even hard to explain. Like for Uminato, I feel like on chapter 1, a lot of people think chapter 1's slow, and I'm just like, what? It's so good. Fate is like 10 times that. It feels like it does take forever, but it is slow. But I'm not saying it's bad. I think the world building is actually like kind of amazing, because or just the Nasu verse in general. Like one of my favorite stories is Kara no Kaioke, which is based in the same world as Fate by the same author. And it explores like the non-Holy Grail War servant stuff. Like obviously you know what Fate is. I'm sure a lot of people, or the majority of people on this channel, has a good idea of what it's about. But I think the magic aspect of the world is pretty cool. Obviously, it's like a modern hidden organization for mages and stuff, but I like the idea of, what's it called? It's been so long. Well, first I like the idea of like magic types. Like certain mages can do certain stuff based on a type, and they like excel at that type of magic. Like I believe Rin's is like all elements, so she's good at all elemental magic. Plus she has gems. Plus she's proficient at gems, right? So she's like, so she's like sort of the standard one. Well, Shiro, the protagonist, is good at swords, so he's good at crafting, but he's mainly good at swords. Origins, that's what it's called, origins. Like each character has an origin where they're more proficient at, whether for magic or just in life in general. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like there's a character in Karen no Kyokai called Leo, whose origin is a lion. So he has like this, and whatever story stuff, he unlocks the origin where he's more connected to it, so he starts eating people and stuff, becoming more lionistic. I think it's hard to explain, but the origin stuff's really cool, and I really enjoy that sort of idea. It's like one of my favorite ideas for magic, honestly. I also like the idea, I'm totally like blanking on what it's called, but it's like when one person passes down all their magic to another person. It pains me that I don't remember this, but like they don't just teach the person, they like physically like take something out of their body and transfer it to someone else, and they gain like all the abilities of them, and they sort of like cultivate it throughout the ages. I thought that was really cool too. Like there's a lot of cool world stuff in Fate besides the servant stuff, which I think is very cool. And the servant, I think what Fate does best is, to me is the fight scenes. They have some really good fight scenes, but like in retrospect, I liked Stay Night. I really don't like Unlimited Blade Works, and I love Heaven's Feel. Heaven's Feel is so good, dude. I think Heaven's Feel like hard carries the series for me. Honestly, if Heaven's Feel wasn't as good as it is, I don't know if I could give it a B. I just absolutely love it. I don't even want to talk about it. It's like, and you know, you can't really say Heaven's Feel would be as good without the other arts, because it takes a lot from the other arts, and it just blows me away how good it is. And you know, it's personal preference. I know people love Unlimited Blade Works, and I've heard people criticize Heaven's Feel. I mean, I pride myself on being able to. It's like the one topic I'm actually like pretty decent at debating about Fate, even though it's like not my favorite series. I love talking about like the arts and stuff, or the routes, and I'm pretty like confident in my opinions. So, you know, I've heard it all. Like Heaven's feels too slow. It's a cooking simulator. Yeah, every freaking route is a cooking simulator / super slow. But I don't want to get into it. That's my opinion. Yeah, I'm sure most of you know it. I would try it out if you're really interested, if you love the anime, if it's an interesting summary, I guess. I would try out the visual novel, but again, I do think it is extremely slow, so if you can't handle that, then you might not enjoy it. Maybe the anime is better, because, you know, there's so much Fate anime, and there are all really high production, I think, so it might just be a better way to experience the story. But if you want to go for it, and you might like it better than I do, but I still think it is a pretty good series. Hey, look, what's this? Uminato. I'm sure you guys haven't heard of that, but no, if you know me, you know Uminato is my favorite visual novel. It's not really a competition at all. Look at this. I've never seen this cover before. PS4 cover. Obviously I full cleared it. It's just, I just love everything about it. I think it probably has the best music I've ever heard. I think the voice acting is amazing. I think the story is really good. I think people might have different opinions on the story and stuff, but the difference between a rank A and a rank S is just personal preference. So a lot of the story aspects of the series just checks a lot of boxes that I personally enjoy, so I enjoy them. I might enjoy them more than others. Artwork, again, I've stated this in my 2021 forecast, but for me, the When They Cry artwork is this style. I really like. It just fits for me. That's why I read Hidrashi in this, just because I experienced all of Uminato in this style. So I do love this style of artwork. Great characters, you know. My favorite is Erica. I do like Lambda Delta a lot, though. I like all of them. It's just so good, right? Voice acting is really, really good. Probably the best I've heard, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I can like make an Uminato video and talk about it for like over an hour. But again, if you are a sub, you should know. Oh, I got scared because it's buffering. Actually, take a pause just in case. Yep. Oh, I don't know what's happening. BRB. Alright, scared for nothing. But yeah, like, honestly, if I just talk about it now, I'm just gonna jerk it off for as much time. So yeah, I absolutely adore this series. If you haven't read this, I would 100% recommend it to anyone. And you know, maybe I know some people actually haven't read this on this channel, so yeah, if you're a Hidrashi fan, this literally takes like a lot, like I would say 70 to 80% of the themes, repurposes them and puts them in. A lot of the characters have very similar themes too, or they diversify the themes, but there's just so much to love. And then you might even say I overrate the series, but it's just a personal favorite of mine, and I don't think anything will really trump it, like ever, at least in the visual novel sphere of things. Click. Seiya no Yuta, so, or the Song of Seiya. Rank A, I think this is my first rank A. I think this is a great visual novel. It is also my very first series on the channel. It's literally unwatchable because I didn't know how to do stuff and my mic sounded like shit for everything, but it's a great series. I think it is horror, sort of spiced a bit. I think it's in like the Fate Stay Night where there are spice scenes, but it's definitely not about the spice. It's about the story. Basically, if you're not familiar, it's about a student who gets in an accident, so he has an experimental surgery on the brain using nanochips, but something messes up, so everything he perceives in reality is disgusting. So like everything he tastes gross, everything he looks at looks fleshy and gross, all his friends and stuff, until he meets a girl Seiya, aka this girl who looks normal / pretty, and then, you know, they get in a relationship. But yeah, it is extremely gory. It is gross. It has some very disturbing scenes that I remember. I don't really want to spoil it, but there's some gruesome stuff. I remember getting jump scared, my first jump scare of the channel. There's some weird jump scares, like a CG, and then like a guy popped out behind, and I was just like, oh my god. It was spooky. Emotionally, I thought the ending was very sad, especially like the third ending. I almost felt like crying. It was so brutal. Let's just say someone killed themselves, someone died, and it was a beautiful mess. And it is a very Lovecraftian story, probably the most Lovecraftian visual novel I've read. So if you're into that, then you will probably enjoy this. But yeah, it's a really good series. Though this type of horror, sort of sci-fi, Lovecraftian stuff isn't exactly my cup of tea. As a horror fan, I do have my preferences. That's probably why this doesn't like break into the realm of S tier. But I think it is an excellent story that you should read unless you do not want any spice. Which is the same for, I should have said that for Fate Stay Night, because that also has like 3 H scenes per route. This has, I don't remember how much, it's not too much, like 3 to 5. But it is an extremely good story with, well, the first ending is kind of whatever, it's like a mid-ending, but the next 2 are like really, really good endings, so yeah, Sei no Yuta, great story, and then some sentimental value. But yeah, strong A tier, would recommend. Fall Milestone 1. Oh boy, the memories. This was my second series I've ever done on the channel. It's good. It's a fantasy series about, I believe, an empire is at war and gets invaded, so the princess and her bodyguard gets teleported to an emergency spot, but it turns out they're in like a whole new continent. So the problem with this one is I'm giving it an OK plus. It feels like a prelude. And it is. It's Fault Milestone 1. It's a multiple chapter thing, but it just feels so short that it doesn't really feel like you've done anything. Like, it feels like in an RPG game where you're like, you start with your 2 characters, then you meet someone else you want to join in the party, and then you like do some quests, do whatever to get them to join. That's what it feels like. You get one more party member, then the game ends at a cliffhanger. That was kind of hype. But yeah, it's just, I feel like if I read the other chapters, maybe it would feel better, but it just felt too short. There's some good things that I did like. The music was alright. I don't really remember it too much, but I do remember liking it. The story itself was fine, right? Like, I enjoyed the process, it just wasn't satisfying. But I do remember crying. I did cry near the end. I don't really want to talk about it, but I did cry. It was a very sad sibling scene, so pulled on the heartstrings, good. And then there's multiple, I don't know how much now, but there was like a sequel, and I assume there's probably more just because of this one's length, but yeah, it's decent. I would say if you want to get into this, you probably would want to get both of them, to be honest. If you're into fantasy, it's a pretty good fantasy story. Next, If My Hard Head Wins. So I gave this a question mark C, but it should probably be C to B. This was a story we dropped, and the only reason I dropped it was it's actually a bigger time investment than I thought, because I believe there's 4 routes. It's a long story. I was juggling that with Hidrashi, and it just didn't really work out. It's basically a slice of life about some high school life, about joining an airplane club. Now I have like, or not an airplane, a glider club, aka this thing. I have like 0 interest in it, and I actually just don't like flying. Like, I will fly because I like traveling, but in general, it's not a hobby I like. So I wasn't really connecting well. Honestly, the thing I remember the most was commenting on like the portraits of the characters, like in the corner of the text box, and they had like good Or actually, it might have been sprites. There's like some good facial expressions. I know it's a weird thing, but that's just what I remember commenting on. I say it a lot in Hidrashi, so you might notice, but I do like details like that. And I like the characters. We didn't really get introduced to these two. I mean, we did, but we didn't get to know them. But I remember liking these three. There's some good relationship stuff. But it just kind of didn't work out in the end. I'm sure it might be better than I am rating it. That's why I'm fine with giving it the question marks. But yeah, if my heart wins. Interested in gliders? Interested in a nice, fun school life stuff? Then go for it. 999! I'm giving it a B. I'm currently reading it as of recording this video. It's a fun game. I think my main draw is, and I don't know if it's for everyone, but I really love the escape puzzles aspect of it, where basically like you're trapped in a room, you need to escape doing puzzles, kind of like a big trend. Well, not now, not in 2020, but in modern times. It's always fun to do. I always sucked at them, so it's kind of fun practicing. But yeah, it's just a fun time, and like I've said early in the video, I've kind of come around to puzzles where instead of like not liking them and just skipping them in games, I kind of want to actively try harder to solve them. I also love the trivia aspect. I know a lot of the stuff they tell is relevant to the plot, but I also feel like there's just random stuff that could be fun, that might have been on like a trivia question, on like Trivia Pursuit, and it's always interesting. A lot of interesting dialogue, and the story obviously is pretty good, but I don't have the full picture yet, so. But I did think it's worth mentioning, even though I am currently reading it. I would rate it at a B, as it is right now. Excuse me. I'm tired, dude. Doki Doki. Full cleared, rank B, very spooky, fun tech stuff. I mean, you probably know what Doki Doki is. I made the argument with someone, Sushi. They didn't really agree, but I think this is actually probably the most popular visual novel. She was telling me that she thinks Fate is, which might be true in like the visual novel community, but I think the outreach of this game was like so high with a lot of huge content creators doing it, that it just like reached numbers that is very unusual for the genre, probably because it is horror. I think horror is a connector to a lot of mediums. But yeah, I really enjoyed Doki Doki. It was a fun experience, a lot of scares, probably the scariest experience I've had reading a visual novel. Obviously my top scare was during the corrupted Yuri route, where you go in the closet with her, and then her eyes turn into those weird eyes. It still creeps me out thinking of it. I hated that scene, and by hate I mean loved it. Like my hands were over my eyes, but I was peeking. It was just a visceral fear that I really don't feel much anymore, as I am very experienced in horror stuff, so that was fun. Obviously there's a lot of technical stuff, messing with the backgrounds, file stuff that you do that is pretty interactive and unique, so that was cool. Though I think the spooky stuff was more interesting to me. Story wise it's pretty good. I know there's like a billion mods for it. I was considering playing a mod one day. Maybe I will, maybe not, but it's a great game. I'm sure I don't need to recommend it at all. I'm giving it a B though. I don't think it really. I'm definitely looking more for. I'm more of a character or really good story guy. I think I prioritize great characters more than a great story. And while these characters are good, they don't really they're not developed enough, I guess, compared to like. Well, this is actually an example of a great story, but like Uminato, I think great characters. We really don't have too many high ratings. They're more like B. A and S is hard to hit. But again, we don't have the biggest pool, so maybe that'll change one day, but yeah. House in Fata Morgana. For some reason, I almost forgot about this. A+, it could be S. I don't know. I don't know if I want to put it in the same rating as Uminato. But this is such a good series. I know a lot of the When They Cry people recommend this as it is quote-unquote similar. I don't really like that sentiment because I don't think they're that similar besides like some themes and like one character being pretty similar. As there are, but it's just a totally different vibe in my opinion. But I love this. This was like, there's a time in my life where I read Uminato, then I just didn't have the will to read any other visual novel because I felt they were all sort of inferior. And then I read this out of the blue, you know, give it a shot. It was so good. I was enthralled by it. There's a lot to love. I think the art's amazing and like really unique. It definitely has like a gothic anime feel to it, which I love. I know some people don't. It's amazing to me that like I remember like I think it was like 4chan or whatever. I don't know, something when I was younger. Someone commented, it's like, oh, Fata Morgana has like such ugly art, and I'm just like, are you insane? Like, objectively, it might be like one of my favorite art styles, at least for characters. The backgrounds kind of sucked, but but yeah, I love the art style of Fata Morgana a lot. The music was really good too. I wouldn't say it's as good as Uminato, and the music was pretty like well genred. Like there was like a one type of music, a lot of like, I don't know how to describe it. I think the music's great. A lot of vocal performances too that were really good. If this was a couple years ago, I would be able to name the top songs off the tip of my fingers. Actually, for Uminato, I can do that right now. Uminato, Tomorrow, Future, and Tomorrow, Future are 2 songs. I don't remember shit. I haven't listened to the soundtracks in so long, but there's a time where I only listened to Uminato, and then I started mixing it up with Fata Morgana. But yeah, Tomorrow, Future, and let's just say Life are like 3 amazing songs. This one, I think Tarantula was really good. But that's not the... it's hard to say. There's a lot of songs that sound like Spanish or Italian that I can't name. But Tarantula is good. I can't name them. But yeah, music's great. Story is really good too. It's basically about a man who wakes up in a mansion greeted by a maid who has no memory, and the maid's like, oh, well, since you've lost your memory, I will take you to different time periods this mansion's been at so you might remember. And it's another roller coaster where it follows a very stable formula of start of the story, it's kind of a downward slope for being sad, then it kind of goes up slowly, bumpily, and then it just plummets down at the climax, and I love that. I love that a lot. Yeah, this is just amazing. I haven't read Requiem for Innocence, which was like, it's not a sequel, but there's like a couple side stories plus some Jacopo, which is a character in the story. Is like that story with actually I shouldn't even be talking about this, but I haven't read it yet. One day I will. Like I love it. This is so good. Fully recommend it. Wouldn't mind putting it in S, but this is high A tier. Definitely even higher than say Noita. Finally, Hidrashi. I'm putting it with Uminato. I'm currently reading it, and like Uminato, it's just amazing. Yeah, even without finishing the final arc, there's no way that would diminish my love for Hidrashi. And like Uminato, it hits a lot. Voice acting, great. Music, great. Story-wise, I think it might... Like, you can say Uminato might have better voice acting. Kinda. I mean, Uminato doesn't have Keiichi, but yeah, in general, Uminato probably has better voice acting, probably better music. I don't think story-wise is necessarily better, in my opinion. And again, a lot of the themes and characters are actually like shared throughout the series. But the characters, like my favorite characters in Uminato, like Erika and Lambda Delta, are not characters like in Hidrashi. So I like choosing different ones between them. But you know, favorite Hidrashi characters, you already know Satoko and Mion are my two MVPs. But yeah, do I really need to talk about Hidrashi? I think you guys all know that I adore it to death. And there's a point where I definitely said that I enjoyed Uminato more than Hidrashi. I think it was probably near after completing Himatsubushi, which is the med point, but I don't know. My opinion's kind of changing. I feel like, again, story-wise, is even though they're different plots, there's so many similar points where it just does feel like an actual sequel. It does feel like it's in the same series. But yeah, I love Hidrashi. It's great. It's the reason I made this channel. After being inspired by reading so many Uminato read-throughs, I was like, okay, this seems like fun. I want to do it, but we'll do it with Hidrashi. And obviously I don't regret it. It is great. But yeah, I think that is all. Yeah, thanks for watching. Look at that. Cute stuff. But thank you for watching. These are all the visual novels I read. How many did I read? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 21. Whatever. Let's not do that. Let's just do question answer. So we'll just say 2, even though we haven't finished. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19. Well, okay, whatever. We have a big chunk. I think that's decent, but it's obviously less than Rio novels or manga or anything for me. But yeah, this was a super fun video. Like I said, I just briefly went through these, so if you have any questions about certain series that you want me to go in more detail, or just, you know, a question in general, it's like, hey, you know, if my heart had wings, I'm thinking of picking it up, I actually have a question about whatever, then I'm definitely down to answer anything, so feel free. But yeah, thank you guys for enjoying this with me if you've watched to the end, and again, thank you for 100 subs. It has been a journey, and I'm happy that we have reached this point in my YouTubing career. It has been a blast, and hopefully we'll keep the good times rolling. But thank you. And yeah, have a great day. And hopefully see you later for more visual novel stuff in the future. But yeah, for now, bye. Boop.